hello, I'm Kata, and I'll gladly ask the host what the winner of the name donation incentive is, so I can name the character.
Yes, hello. Well, we had a close fight there, but between Ball DJ and Landfair PG, and Landfair PG won. I hope you know how to spell that.
No. You're gonna have to spell it out for me.
Oh boy. Well, let's see. It's LLANFAIR.
Slower. LLA. I got that.
I have DM'd it to you.
All right.
That's probably easiest.
Probably. There. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, fair enough. I guess makes more sense. Let me put Discord right here. Is that the name of the Welsh village thingy?
Yes, it is. And you are running as this village now in Dark Souls, so enjoy.
Good thing that there's a 13 character limit. Okay, PWLLG. Hey, it says actually Gwyn in it, but that doesn't fit into the name. So we're gonna have to go with Landfair. That's kind of my best impression of the name that we have, really. Right, so I guess we're kind of ready to go. So I'm just gonna quickly say I'm gonna start as Pyromancer with Black Firebombs as the gift. The Pyromancer, you're not gonna see any Pyromancy, it's just for a glitch that you'll see later on in the run that I'll talk about. The Black Firebombs are for quick Asylum, and I'll also use the Firebombs throughout the run for different uses. I start with very slim, but that's only a visual thing, and it looks better. Technically, there's less pixels on the screen, so it's less cluttered. You can look at it that way. Anyway, I'm pretty much ready to go, so we can start in 3, 2, 1, go. Right, so this is Dark Souls 1, all bosses. Most of you have probably seen a Dark Souls run before. Dark Souls 1 run, that is. I mean, most of you have seen the Dark Souls 2 run just now, which was a great run by Zero, actually. I was very impressed. That being said, there are 26 bosses within this game. We're going to be trying to kill all of them. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes. So right off the bat, you're going to see me toggling a lot throughout the run. That's because as you start sprinting, there's like a little acceleration animation, right? And as that acceleration animation's happening, if you toggle through it, it's actually going to speed it up. And that way you're going to be able to sprint faster, or sooner I should say. So it's going to be saving a little bit of time. I'm going to start off with this demon right here. It's one of the 3 same looking demons in the run. And we're going to dispose of him rather quickly with 5 black fire bombs. Now, every starting class will get certain items here in the Asylum. As the Pyromancer, we get a shield, which is just an excuse for a shield. It's crap, but we're actually gonna use it for the whole run. And then we get the hand axe, which is also crap, but it's the best that we can do with this class. Right here, I'm gonna activate the boulder. We're gonna talk to Oscar. He tells us some bollocks about some prophecy. We don't really care about that. And normally you would have to go like upstairs and then enter the fight from the top, because initially obviously you only have your fist, but since we have the black fire bombs, we're able to just kill the Asylum Demon immediately, and we don't have to go back to the top and then drop down. Normally on this door I would actually perform a quit out. You're gonna see a bunch of those anyway, but they're not very efficient for real-time purposes. So we're gonna exit the Asylum, and the first thing that I'm gonna do, as the professional player I am, I'm gonna level up Dexterity. No shame. That's because I'm actually gonna be using the Drake Sword for a little bit in the early game, and it requires 10 Dexterity for me to handle, so just do that really quickly. And then my first stop is gonna be the Undead Merchant. I'm gonna have to buy certain things. I'm gonna buy a bow so that I can perform the Moose Swap glitch, very notoriously known. If you're not familiar with it, I'll explain it, don't you worry. Then I'm also gonna be buying some arrows, a very specific amount actually, for well, to be able to shoot them, and for a specific glitch later on as well. But I also need to buy the residence key, and I'm actually not able to afford it. But I can do a glitch, and that glitch consists of me basically pressing purchase an item, and then using the mouse button, the mouse cursor, to switch the tab, and I'm gonna be able to afford an item that normally I cannot actually afford. So I'm gonna buy, well, 12 arrows is fine. The bow, that was the glitch, you couldn't really see it. And here's a new skip here that will probably not work, but I'll try it out anyway. Oh, that might actually work. So I jump off of these boxes, and if I landed correctly on the railing, I should be spawning right there, and that actually worked. That's pretty awesome. Gonna kill this dog. I'm gonna heal up. And now we're in the Loverberg, so that's a pretty big skip. There's a lot of different ways to skip to the Loverberg, and this is the newest one that we know of pretty much. And it's very convenient for this run. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up the Mailbreaker. I do a bunch of quit-outs here in the Loverberg because it's, well, there's quite a lot of enemies here, and unlike in DS2, in DS1 if you quit out and log back into the game, the enemies actually get spawned back to their default position, so that's very useful here. I'm gonna do a little skip here. Opening the door actually has... Okay, hopefully I don't die. This could be kind of close. The dogs can just decide to kill me. Yeah, there you go. That's okay. It's not a long run back. I think I should have healed before I opened the doors for Griggs, but as I was saying, the range for opening the door at Griggs is actually larger than the range for the dialogue there. So I'm able to open it without getting the dialogue, which is pretty nice. But yeah, unfortunately, dogs were kind of relentless and merciless. Like I said, it's not the first time this has happened to me, so it's alright. And I don't have to go back to the Loverberg now anymore. I can just run through the upper one, which is pretty short. Again, you see me toggling non-stop to get a little bit of that speed boost, rather accelerate quicker. And right off the bat, we're gonna go ahead and get to another usage of the residence key that we bought. The first one was for the Griggs door that I opened. The second one will be the door to the Gold Pine Resin. The Gold Pine Resin is pretty important because I'm gonna be using it for the next boss. That's Taurus Demon. He's super weak to lightning, so that's awesome. Gold Pine Resin, you saw that in the DS2 run as well. So I'm gonna get it from this chest. And then I'm also gonna use it right after that to cut the Hellkite's Drake tail, which will get me the Drake sword. This barrel, I'm gonna jump over it. And then approach the Taurus Demon fight. I'm gonna do some menuing. Menuing in this game doesn't work like in DS2, where you can just press auto run on your keyboard and then menu to your heart's content as the game is sprinting forwards. In this game, you actually cannot sprint at all while menuing, so I have to do most of my menuing in like fog gates and on warps and any kind of animations that... I kind of messed up my setup, but that's okay. I'll just play this a little bit safer. I accidentally attacked 3 times, that's completely fine. I used the firebomb there. I don't have to, but it deals very good damage. Normally, I use it to stagger him and then just finish him off during the stagger. I messed up a little bit, but not a big deal. As we go through, no problem. Yeah, so in this game, I'm just gonna try to menu during any kind of animation where I'm stuck, so I don't actually waste time. Here I'm gonna heal up, and I'm gonna taunt this big boy. I'm gonna apply the resin, and I'm gonna use the hand axe to cut his tail. Hopefully it doesn't go wrong, should be fine. This is pretty important. We got the Drake sword. I'm gonna be using the Drake sword, which is an item that's actually pretty strong in the early game. It's got high raw DPS, or high raw damage I should say, but then it falls off quite quickly in the mid to late game because it has no scaling. So yeah, I'm gonna get up this tower and I'm gonna kill this Black Knight. I want his Black Knight Greatsword. Again, I'm doing some menuing while I'm reposting. Okay, he actually dropped the legit sword, so this is a random drop. It's 1 in 4 chance. Normally, if you're going for legit leaderboard attempts, what you would do is you would go ahead and farm it until you get it. For the purpose of the marathon, because I wanted to show this currently fastest route, I have a software running on the background that would give me the sword if I didn't get it, but that's actually legit. It actually dropped. So, legit run, buggies. Okay, so what I do there is called the move swap glitch. I'll get into how it works a little bit later, but basically I'm gonna be able to do these like OP running attacks with any weapon. I activate the shortcut so I can use it later. And now, very scary part, the hollow room. The hollows seem to be, well, quite calm actually, so that's nice. And we're gonna be approaching the gargoyles. Now, what you're gonna notice, gargoyles are one of the first early game bosses that will allow you to progress into Sense Fortress and then into mid-game, along with Quelaag. You're gonna notice that I'm actually not gonna go ahead and ring the bell to open Sense Fortress. That's because I'm gonna be able to, obviously do Sense Gate skip, but then later on, I actually don't need to place the Lord Vessel until very late. But the thing is, normally, if you're playing casually, you have to place the Lord Vessel, otherwise you're not gonna get to the later bosses. Fortunately though, there's a skip that I can do to get into the Duke's Archives. And there's also a skip for another Golden Fog Gate in Asylum, and I can go ahead and postpone opening the Firelink Altar until the very late game. So I do some menuing here. It's just to be able to cast Fall Control and stuff like that, which I'm going to purchase from Griggs. This is the guy that we freed up. I'm also going to use the same glitch to afford an item I normally can't afford. So what I do there is I buy the Sorcerer's Catalyst, I buy Fall Control, which is a really broken spell throughout the entire series. And I buy the Lingering Dragon Crest Ring, which is going to increase the duration of my buff there. Of my buffs. So it's going to increase the duration of my Fall Control, which is very important for 2 skips in particular. Because I'm going to be reliant on Fall Control being active to not die for a prolonged period of time. And if it runs off, I'm just going to die instantly. So I do actually need that ring to make it to the point where I want to go. So what I'm going to do here is to quit out. I'm going to get rid of the enemies that attack me, or rather that aggroed in the church. And I'm going to do the notoriously known Sense Gate skip. If you're not familiar with Dark Souls runs though, this might be a little bit crazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bait this hollow, and then I'm going to riposte his attack, or rather parry his attack and riposte, in such a way that I actually hit a death cam trigger. So this is a trigger that the game normally has for when you like fall off the world, to give you more of a cinematic feeling, right? And then the game kills you shortly after, because you just fell off. The thing is that those 2 triggers actually do not overlap. There's a slight space between them. So that way I can actually only hit the death cam trigger. And the reason I want to hit the death cam trigger is while this state of camera is activated, nothing loads or deloads. And there's a big gate separating me from the next area. However, the next area is loaded at the time I hit the trigger, but the gate isn't, because it's like an asset to an area, and thus it loads a little bit later. So there's the gate there. I just ran through it. I'm gonna quit out again to make it to normal, and that's the Sense Gate skip. It's very well known, and it's gonna allow me to get into the mid game without going to Isolith at all and rigging any of the bells of awakening. So this area is pretty much, I want to say, scripted. The cycles here are consistent if you quit out at the correct place, so it shouldn't be too big of a threat, but you never know with this game, quite honestly.
And while we're running through this, I would like to remind you, you can still choose the ending, by the way, for this run. Currently, the Link to Fire ending is in the lead, but if you want to see the Dark Lord ending, you can donate towards that. And you will still have time until, I think, the final boss. That's the best.
That is very much correct. Here I'm gonna quit out. That is because a boulder is coming my way, and quitting out resets its position. So you're just gonna hear it boom, slam on the bottom, and it takes a while until a new one is loaded into the trap. Activate that trap, dodge it, and then there's 2 more sets of pendulums to get through, and I'm gonna do the move swap glitch again. Actually, I'm gonna postpone it. I would normally do it here before the pendulums. But let me first talk about how it works. So basically, the only weapon that you can two-hand in your left hand is the bow. But what I can do is I can get stuck in an animation and queue up two-handing the bow. But before the game actually executes that command, while it is still queued up, I will swap out the bow for the weapon of my choice. So, the Drake Sword this time. What that does is it two-hands a weapon in your left hand that's not supposed to be two-handed there. And thus, because the bow has no information for... That was the move swap. You're gonna see it a lot throughout the run. Because the bow has no information for a running, rolling, and plunging attack, it's gonna take the information from my right hand where the Mailbreaker is. And the Mailbreaker is a tiny, very weak weapon. However, what it does is in the running attack, it hits twice. It does its damage in 2 different ticks. And I am able to put that attack onto my, you know, stronger weapon. So I'm basically getting double damage if I use it correctly. So this is the Iron Golem. I'm gonna focus his legs. 400 damage to stagger him. I'm gonna do a pretty neat setup, hopefully, to stagger him in such a position that he's gonna fall off. I got good RNG, so it should be very easy. This is the last one to stagger. 2 more 100 damage. 200 more damage, rather, to make him fall off. And even during the social distancing era, Iron Golem hasn't worked out his legs. What I did there is I just rolled into the fire and did a toggle escape. So basically, if you get hit, or as you get hit by something, if you're toggling like this, the game's not gonna stagger you with most attacks. You're gonna see it later on as well. But most of the time, I don't really want to get hit unless I'm setting up the Red Tearstone ring, which I'm gonna acquire later on in the run. Again, if you watched the previous run, you know what it is. If you don't know, I'll explain it as I get closer to it. So here I'm gonna take down along the bonfire. I'm gonna level up enough strength and dexterity to be able to use the Black Knight Greatsword that we dropped from the Black Knight. If you're wondering why I'm not using it, even though we farmed it, I don't have sufficient stats just yet. So here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the first abuse of the fall control spell. This time it's gonna be a very simple fall control quit out. I'm first gonna activate this elevator because I'm gonna need it on the bottom later on in the run. And then I'm gonna just jump off. I did some menuing midair and I quit out. Hopefully I didn't quit out too early. I quit out as I hit the ground. And what the game does is it stores my position on the bottom, but because of the fall control spell, it delays the fall damage that it deals to me. So I quit out just in time, basically, before the game kills me, while simultaneously storing my position on the bottom. This is a very ancient glitch, but as you can see, even in 2020, it's still highly prevalent, though its usage has gotten a lot less significant with the addition of some other glitches like the air rolls, which I'm gonna do. So basically, if you get to a very specific amount of weight load, don't backstab me, mate, thank you. If I get to a very specific amount of weight load, so the amount of items, the weight of items that I have equipped, I'm gonna be able to just chain rolls while midair, and because rolls give you iframes, I'm gonna be able to actually survive fall damage. That's not what I wanted to do there. That's okay. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna equip specific items here. I'm gonna cast fall control, which is not necessary, but it is necessary for this skip. And then I can just actually chain rolls like this. And it's put into another death camp skip, basically. So this is very similar to the Sense Fortress skip. And this time around, there's a door to the shortcut to the giant blacksmith, and I'm gonna be able to just run past it. Here it is very important to have the fall control activated, because this death camp works actually differently. The Sense Fortress one didn't kill me. This one is coded so that as soon as you hit the ground, it kills you. But if I have the fall control activated, as you can see, it actually prevents me from dying. That's why you see the insane sonic flare behind my character. So that was the door I just ran through. Here's the giant blacksmith. I'm gonna quit out again to put everything back to normal. And I'm gonna use a very complex glitch now, which I'll try to explain. But basically, this is where the arrows come in. So what I'm doing is I'm queuing up, dropping 11 arrows, or 10 arrows, sorry. And the game will remember that number. Did I actually get +5? Yeah, I did. The game will remember that number, and I'm able, through queuing up an action again, I'm able to take that quantity of 10 into the giant blacksmith menu. And that way I'm able to buy 10 Twinkling Titanites, even though I wouldn't be able to afford them. And the Twinkling Titanites are actually an item that is used to upgrade the Black Knight Greatsword. So I have just upgraded the Black Knight Greatsword to +5, which is its strongest form. And you're gonna see, hopefully, the strength on this fight. This is a very spooky fight. Probably one of the hardest in the game. So now I'm combining +5. Okay, that's phase 1. Now smoke's gonna get bigger, but the phase 2 should be much easier than the first one. Even though we got Garangi. Because I can actually stagger lock this lad. Because not only do I deal double damage, but the poise is doubled as well. So I'm able to just stagger lock him like this. Okay, that was pretty smooth. So this is basically the damage we're doing now, and that's without the Red Tearstone ring, which will double our damage further. So yeah, pretty strong. Here I'm gonna open the door to Gwyn, which is gonna give us the Lord Vessel, but not really, because we shoot her, it's an illusion. It's faster than talking to her, and I'm gonna prepare teleporting. Now, Homeward Bone's an item that you can use to, you know, bone back to your last bonfire. But they have a limited usage. However, another glitch that's as old as day, I can just queue up using the Homeward Bone, and before that action is executed, I'm gonna drink my Estus. That's gonna consume the Estus charge, but pop the bone instead. I can do that with like anything that has a confirmation box. Here at Griggs, I did another prom swap, which is the glitch where I'm able to afford an item, even though I don't have enough souls for it. It's simply just abusing the fact that there's a mouse cursor on the PC version. So that way I can basically press purchase and skip, or rather switch the tab to another category at the same time. So now we're gonna approach the Stray Demon. I'm gonna approach the Stray Demon because right after him is an item that I need to get, that is basically a key for me to get into the painted world, right? And the reason I want to get into the painted world, this is also a place where I put on my gaming gloves. Those are actually just gym gloves, but they help keep my hands warm, and at the same time they keep the sweat away from my controller so it doesn't slip out. Right, so I need a peculiar doll to enter the painted world, and that's because through painted world and another usage of a glitch, I'm gonna be able to acquire the RTSR, and the sooner I have it, the better. So that's why after ONS, I'm gaining the Lord Vessel, which allows me to warp between bonfires. I straight up go to Firelink and I go and fight Stray Demon. So this guy is a tank. He takes a lot more hits than Smo. Than supercharged Smo, I would even say. But fortunately he's being pretty kind. The holo almost hit me head, but that's fine. One last hit, okay. Don't kill me, mate. Sure wasn't paying too much attention there to that holo. So now I'm gonna climb the ladder and we're gonna approach the cell that we actually started the whole run from. So insane throwback Thursday, but it's Wednesday. Here's this lad. I'm just gonna go ahead and kill him with my DKGS +5. And then again, I'm gonna dupe the Homeward Bone. That's why you see me like not just immediately teleport away, but I pick up the doll, and then in the animation of picking up the doll, I queue it up and then use an Estus first. So now we're gonna go back to where we were already, to the rafters, which is gonna include this full control skip again, and then another one to get down to the painting.
And while we're on our way to the painting, you mind a quick donation?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
We have $50 from Bun Dumpling saying, Catalyst running, Dark Souls is endlessly entertaining. I agree with that. Huge thanks to him and ESA for making this happen, and thank you for a generous donation. You are helping ESA and its affiliates, bringing you more such amazing events. And also this donation goes towards the Dark Lord ending, which is now leading with $70. So if you want to still link the fires, donate towards that. Or strengthen the Dark Lord. Thank you.
Thank you for the donation, Dumpling. I hope you enjoyed me dying to dogs. There's some people that really just enjoy people suffer through these games. And my chat is usually comprised of those people. So, yeah, we die to those dogs quite often. These lads blocked me and hit me. That's fine. I'll just heal up. Normally, I wouldn't really bother healing up, but it's for safety. So first, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to run up the stairs where the crows are. And I'm going to pick up the red sign soapstone. Now, you might be wondering if you're familiar with this game. Why you're picking up an online use item. And I'm just want to do some comfy PvP. Nah, I'm just kidding. So I'm gonna actually be able to use that item and convert it into RTSR, the OP ring. So I'm gonna heal up for safety. That's because there's gonna be a bunch of lads trying to kill me with arrows, and I don't really want to die to them. Because right now we spawn at the start of the painted world, and that wouldn't be fun. So this is the red sign soapstone. I'm gonna do a plunge. So this is a thing that again, is an abuse of the fall control spell. Basically, if you hit a slope with your plunge attack, if you have fall control active, for a certain period of a fall, you're not gonna take any damage. You can also roll out of it, out of that animation, so that way you can, if the fall is short or long enough, depending on where you are, you can roll at the perfect time when you're about to hit the ground and then survive it even without fall control. So very versatile glitch and very cool looking. So now we're gonna approach your favorite waifus, or rather the only waifu. I'm gonna shoot her with an arrow so that I can see her easily. I'm gonna move swap as the fight is starting up. We didn't get a good spawn. She's right there. There should be just 3 attacks. That's 1. That's the second one. Again, I want you to keep in mind that this is BKGS +5 move swap, but without RTSR. So damage is quite crazy on this weapon. We're gonna exit the painting, and this is like the only good time to go and fight Gwyndolin. So we're gonna go and do that. It's an optional boss. I mean, just like Priscilla, technically, but obviously this is all bosses, so we gotta do it. Gwyndolin is a boss fight that's notoriously hated by every single Dark Souls 1 runner. Because it's pure RNG. There's 3 different attacks that Gwyndolin does, and you need a very specific one. Well, very specific. 1 in 3. You need one of those 3 to be able to approach him and stagger him. Because it's actually 2 running attacks to kill him. So we're gonna run up, we're gonna turn the stairs so we can get to the Darkmoon Tome. Here's the Painting Guardians, but they're not very competent. I mean, unless they are by some chance and they backstab you. Like a vacuum through Half of Londo, that happens. Yeah, I'm not gonna take this bonfire. There's no need. I'm not gonna be coming back. And we're gonna approach this fight. Right after the fight, I'm gonna do some leveling, some menuing, and then we're gonna warp to the Undead Parish. But first, let's see what we get. So we start with arrows. This is the attack that I want when I'm close. Because only after this attack, when he's going back to the ground, will he actually stagger from my attack, allowing me to attack him twice. Now he's doing something else. Okay, this is homing soul mass. I have to stay behind the pillar. 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 And yeah, like this would be run killing, really. Now he's doing the arrows. That's good. Gonna try to dodge them, and then he's gonna stagger off with the first attack, allowing me to connect the second running attack, and this time I'm just gonna pop the bone, because duping it here would actually lose quite a bit of time. So I do a bunch of menuing. On Andre, I'm gonna use the same quantity storage glitch. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and buy 999 arrows, and then I'm gonna queue up selling them, dropping them, which is gonna remember it. So drop 999. And I'm gonna buy a pike with this quantity. Now, what this actually does is it doesn't buy me 999 pikes, but instead it buys me one pike that weighs 999 times the original amount of weight. Now, the reason this is good is because there's a leftover mechanic from Demon Souls in this game, and that is the inventory limit, weight limit. In Demon Souls, that's a normal mechanic that you have to work with. In Dark Souls, it's at 10,000 weight units, which casually you will never really get to. However, because it's a leftover mechanic, there's a glitch that I'm going to be able to abuse to get the Red Tearstone ring from the Red Soapstone. So basically, in Demon Souls, there's a ring of Herculean strength, and that increases the amount of items that you can have in your inventory. And if you get past your normal limit, and then you would try to unequip the ring, it would tell you, hey, you cannot unequip this because you would be overweight. I'm gonna quit out here, not only to cancel the animation for the doors, but also to reset the enemy so I can sit at the secret bonfire here. Right, and that leftover is actually here as well. So if I get to my max inventory capacity, which I just did with buying the pikes, because one pike weighs 10 weight units, I bought 99 of them. If I try to unequip my ring now, it's gonna mess up my inventory, and I'm gonna be able to equip my red soapstone, right? I hope you're still following me, into my ring slot, just like this. Oh, never mind. That was a mess up. That was much better. So you saw the red Tearstone ring actually pop up, and that's because the red soapstone and the Red Tearstone ring, they share the same ID number. So the game doesn't actually check whether I equip the ring. It just checks, hey, what is the ID number of this item? Because obviously the devs didn't really expect you to equip the consumable into your ring slot. So now my red soapstone is equipped as a ring, and the game is like, hey, he has the Red Tearstone ring. Oh, that's, yeah, nice fireball. This is a Hydra fight for sure. Alright, Colby. And it's dead. I got a little bit caught up there. Yeah, so you can see in the top left, you have the little gem, and my character is glowing. That means the Red Tearstone ring is activated, and my damage will double, and sometimes even triple. It depends on the particular attacks and calculations, because it's kind of messed up. So it's a very, very overpowered ring. So now you might be wondering why I'm killing the Hydra when it's not a boss. The Hydra is actually necessary for this. It needs to be dead so that this Golem can spawn. And now I need to actually talk to this lass that's stuck in him. And that is because only through her and through his dialogue, I'm going to be able to get to the DLC. The DLC has 4 bosses. Obviously, in all bosses, we have to go and kill those. So yeah, it's quite Miyazaki tier that he releases a DLC and then makes it so hard to find that half the people don't even find it without Google. Here I'm gonna take intentional damage. Well, never mind, thank you. So what I want the consistent knight to do, we call her consistent because she is inconsistent, it makes sense. I want her to do specific attacks or follow up this bad attack so that I get in the RTSR range for Seath. Seath has a very important ring, the Covenant of Artorias, which is gonna allow me to fight the 4 kings, which are actually a non-optional boss. And this is the perfect time to go and kill him. The problem is that I will not have RTSR. It will be a little bit more random, but it's not a big deal. It should be fine. Now obviously, because I'm setting up RTSR for pretty much every fight from now on, any hits that I'll take will one-shot me. So every single fight is not really difficult, but it requires a lot of knowledge about when I can afford to attack, right? Because when I do my running attack, even though I'm using the Mailbreaker's moveset, the stamina is still being depleted for the Black Knight Greatsword, and it depletes a lot of it. Let's do this fight. He's a jumpy boy. One more attack. Alright, that was actually pretty fun. So again, I'm gonna pop the bone because it would lose time to go ahead and dupe it. The dupe management is set up so that I can actually afford to use these bones. I'm gonna level up, I'm gonna warp to Analondo, I'm gonna equip some items. And now the big glitch. So this is actually the big skip. This is why I'm actually using the Pyromancer mainly. Because the previous skip I did with air rolls is possible with a plunge as well. It's just a little bit slower. But now, because we haven't placed the Lord Vessel yet, going to Duke's Archives would not be possible because there's a Golden Fog Gate. However, because of air rolls, I can actually do the Golden Fog Gate skip. So I'm gonna do air rolls here. It's gonna activate a death cam. Again, it's that death cam that will kill me as soon as I hit the ground, but full control with the Lingering Dragon Crest Ring is gonna make it so I can make it all the way to Duke's without dying. I'm gonna dupe the Sith Soul twice on the elevator. So what I've been doing with the bones, I'm doing with the soul now. Obviously, Dark Souls 1 has a lot of ways to acquire a lot of souls, but none of them are really fast in the fastest all bosses routes. So right now, through this death cam, I'm gonna head over to the Duke's Archives. And because, like I said before, assets to areas load later than the areas themselves, the Golden Fog Gate will actually not be there. However, this will be a good demonstration of sometimes people ask me, like, why don't you continue in this camera? Like, when you enter Sense Fortress, why don't you continue? That's because, like, the rest of Sense Fortress is not loaded. And very clearly, you're gonna see it here. Like, the start of this area is loaded, but that's it. Like, I'm literally just gonna walk off at the end. It's gonna store my position there. I'm gonna quit out. And then, fortunately, the area extends far enough that I can just run through this Golden Fog Gate. So this is like the caveat of the route. Obviously, doing this skip is in itself slower than just running here if the Fog Gate is not there. However, the time save is from not having to ring either of the bells. That's a pretty big deal. Gonna get around these boars hopefully safely. And now Duke's Archives are a little bit tricky. There's a huge skip called the Duke Skip coming up. It's also very notoriously known. It's a little bit of parkour that we're gonna be doing. First, I'm gonna again dupe the soul, this time off of a roll. I'm gonna move swap. And now we're gonna kill the Blue Pendant Golem. So this Blue Pendant Golem will drop an item that will allow me to get into the DLC now, right? But obviously drop this item and you actually have to figure out casually where to use it. So even if you manage to get this far and acquire it, which is already tricky in itself, you have to figure out where to go to use this item. But this is like my second playthrough, so I'm actually aware of where to go. I've been told by the Speed Souls community, they're all lovely fellas. I'm gonna dupe the soul twice on this elevator. I'm gonna ring swap, so now I have the Death Crown Ring. I'm gonna talk about that in just a second. But first the Duke Skip. It saves like 5 minutes, by the way. Alright, perfect. So, that one's pretty much self-explanatory. It skips the entire prison section, which is very, very long. That's a very neat skip. Here, after a while, I'm gonna abuse the full control quit out again. And as I said, so I actually got the Dust Crown Ring now from Hydra. When you kill Hydra, you acquire that ring. And what that ring does is it halves your HP. Like your maximum HP will be 50% of your regular maximum HP. And it gives you like double the amount of casts, because in this game you don't have mana. Like in Dark Souls 3, for example. But you have, you know, you see a certain amount of charges for a spell. It's 8 for full control right now. So you have limited amount of uses. However, the thing is, we don't really use that except for like very specific points. That extra charges, they don't really matter. What matters is that you can use the ring to get rid of some of your HP, and then the RTSR setups out of fall damage will work. Because the actual fall damage is based on your max HP. So sometimes it's better to just ring swap and then take the falls, or sometimes it's better to just... okay, this is a little bit of a tricky full control quit out, but it's calm. Skips the Crystal Caves. Either sometimes it's better to do the ring swap, like this time, and then you are in the RTSR setup, or sometimes it's better to just keep the ring, then do the drops, and then swap out your rings, and that way you'll be in RTSR. We'll be using that later on in the run as well at the end of the DLC. So now we're heading towards Seath. Seath is another mandatory boss. I mean, all bosses are mandatory in all bosses. Duh, but sometimes people ask me if the DLC is included, and surprise, surprise, it is. So these clams can be really annoying because they can actually get into this arena before the 4 gate spawns and then be present, and that's not something you want. So I do very specific pathing there. Also, this is Seath's 1,000 years of work. Oh, the clam is here. Okay. Fortunately, the clam was dead rather quickly. And so was Seath. So Seath basically worked on this insane crystal that will make him immortal. And then you get in there wearing just your thong and you shoot it with one wooden arrow that costs 3 souls. And his life's worth of work is just gone and you kill him. Obviously, if you've played this game, you know that there's actually 2 encounters with Seath, but we skipped that first one by doing the Duke skip. So Seath is dead. That is great. He's a wonka. And now we're gonna actually head to another wonka, and that is the Moonlight Butterfly. This is no joke, one of the hardest bosses in the run, because he's a memer, A, B, he's quite random, and C, it's kind of difficult to not get too trigger happy and start casting too many spells, because if you do, you're just gonna die. So I'm gonna play this rather safer. I am gonna be using the Great Heavy Soul Arrow, which I purchased earlier from Griggs. Because you cannot, until he gets close, you cannot actually attack in melee. Alright, 2 more spell casts. Alright, here was good. I'm gonna use the ring swap tactics this time, actually. So normally, I wouldn't get into RTSR from just dropping on the bridge. That's why when I was going to Hydra, I needed to have certain items equipped to increase the fall damage taken from that drop on the bridge. I'm going back to Hydra now again, because that's where we're gonna enter the DLC from. But what I can do is I can limit my HP to 50%, basically. I'm gonna take the certain percentage of my max HP, but then when I swap out the rings, it's gonna be below the 20% threshold. So it's not gonna be below 20% of my current limited health, but it will be below 20% once my maximum health is back to normal. I'm gonna jump. And as you can see, the RTSR is not activated, but as soon as I swap out my rings when I enter the next boss fight, I'm gonna be back to RTSR range. So this is another plunge, the same thing that I did in Painted World, and on my way to Hydra. For Hydra, it's actually very important because it makes it consistent. Without that, if you did like a full control quit out, Hydra could be quite inconsistent. You don't really want that. I guess I'm not gonna do Musop in the arena. I'm gonna take it a little bit slower. Normally, if I were being optimal, I would Musop at the start of the next fight, but in case I just fail that Musop like this, I'm gonna do it now. So the first boss, it's quite simple. He's pretty random as well, though. He can do a lot of different stuff, and a lot of it is bad. But he's not very tanky compared to the other DLC bosses. He opens up with a jump. We're gonna stagger him. I'm gonna try to get... Oh, okay. Well, that was a nice instant charge. Normally, if he jumps away like that, he has to like turn around to face you. And as he does, you can just finish him off because it was literally just one half of Muswap that was required to hit him there. But he gave me an instant charge and I was already pressing R1 to attack, so that was quite unfortunate. Let me put it that way. So we're gonna try again. That's what I get for not Muswapping in the arena. Guardian seeked out and he smelled the peach that I did, the safe strats, and he punished me for it.
And while you're on your way to the boss again, you might some quick messages. For example, you can use your subs, your Twitch Prime sub, support us with that, because we have a sponsor. HyperX, and they are doubling all subs we're getting in. Up to 800. As you can see, we are currently at 313 sub points out of 800, and until that number is met, all subs until then are doubled. So use Twitch Prime, use your regular subs, or maybe give to the community, throw out some gift subs, because those count as well. So consider supporting us, every little bit helps, thank you.
Okay, so I actually messed up. I forgot to swap rings, so this time you can see I'm not in RTSR ring, so I'm just gonna take this bonfire. It is partly for safety, but I mean at the same time it's like whatever, doesn't lose too much time. I'm also gonna have to recover my souls, otherwise we could be in quite a bit of trouble. I could dupe them back, but that's not something that you really want to do. So this is the moose up in the fight. It starts, can't punish that. That's a grave. Yeah, now you can charge if I can strafe it, mate. That's a... Can I equip some items? I'm already getting ready for some air rolls coming up in the DLC again. I'm also gonna take the next bonfire. It's another peach, but the problem is that running all the way from the start of the DLC to back to Artorias would take insane amount of time, and Artorias can be quite random as well, and you can whiff attacks, and Artorias is one of the bosses, just like Guardian, where you're really depending on staggering him, and you're playing around that stagger. So the Black Knight Greatsword, the stagger lasts quite a while, so it's like usually a pretty comfy fight, but as soon as you miss just part of your move swap, as I said before, it hits in two different parts. If you miss just one half, you're probably gonna pay for it. Let's quit out. So here I quit out to reset the enemies. The farmers are quite scary. At the same time, considering I have full HP, maybe I could have just YOLO'd through, but that's okay. So I'm gonna cast Full Control. Which now that I think that I actually shouldn't have done. Normally I would cast Fall Control to not take any damage from the next fall, but considering I took the Peach Bonfire, I'm actually gonna have to do an extra quit out now. That's okay. So here I'm gonna swap out the Mailbreaker for the Drake Sword, which gets me just to the correct percentage to be able to chain my rolls again. And that way I can survive this. So here's Chester. Oh. Looks like a Blood Bundle. I'm gonna buy some Green Blossom. I'm also gonna buy some extra bombs. Just to be safe. Some people might know why. Right, I'm gonna have to go ahead and ring swap now to get into RTSR from this fall. I'm gonna unequip my items. And we're gonna first head towards Calamite, but we cannot actually fight Calamite yet. We first have to trigger him, so normally the game needs you to go ahead and see him, and then I'm gonna have to talk to an NPC to shoot him down. There's actually a way with sorcery to kill him without him flying, without basically going to golf and having him shot down. It's really neat. First I get rid of these dogs. They can be pretty scary because, as you can see again, I'm in RTSR range for Artorias. And as soon as they touch me, I'm dead. So it's very important that I take the right path and I attack at the right time. But again, at the same time, AI in these games can be quite something, as those of you who have played the games certainly know. Or have watched these runs. So now we're gonna fight Artie, like I said. It's gonna be hopefully a 3-running attack affair, but it might not be. It also depends. He's gonna go and hopefully go buff at some point. And if I manage to hit him as he's about to buff, I'm gonna be able to 3-shot him. If not, it's gonna be 4 shots. But it's gonna depend highly on the opener. So let's see what we get. There's a couple of good ones and one that is just really not good. I'm gonna pop the Green Blossom. The Green Blossom, that's the one that's not good. Okay, he's going to buff. Gonna recharge my stamina before I cancel this buff. And hopefully this attack hits. Okay, good. So, if he did some memes there at the end and dodged my attack, I would have died. But he didn't, because he's a good boy. So what the Green Blossom does you might have noticed, is my stamina recharged super fast. I was able to attack a lot faster, or rather in a lot shorter intervals than normally without the Blossom. And the Blossom is very important for like all the DLC bosses, really. I can fight him even without it, especially Manus if you get good RNG. Not really Artorias or Calamy, but like if you get good RNG on Manus, that's the boss coming up, you can still fight him without the Blossom. Okay, so I'm gonna take this bonfire, level up, and I'm gonna attune Hidden Body, which is the spell that I bought from the giant mushroom. Because mushrooms talk in games, chill. Don't question it. And that's basically gonna allow me to be partially invisible. Again, I'm gonna do some air rolls. This is a shortcut that you're supposed to only activate once you get to this part by going around. However, I'm able to abuse it to save a bunch of time. I also casted Hidden Body a little bit later, that's not a problem. But this doesn't make me necessarily invisible, it just makes it so that the enemies are more confused. They aggro a little bit later. The spell can work quite inconsistently, but it gets the necessary job done. At the same time, you have to be really wary of some variations that the enemies can do, where they can actually see you much earlier than some other times. I also bought this talisman. That is so that I can put this mimic to sleep, and I can get the crest key. This crest key used to access the NPC that will shoot down Calamy. Jump up. Gonna get a stored roll. That's okay. Sometimes you will not get the cancel of the fall damage, of the fall animation. It has something to do with how the game accepts inputs. Normally in games that's done, you know, in real time, but here it's on frame-by-frame basis. This is the Hell Bridge. There's a lot of enemies, a lot of casting enemies that will one-shot you. I'm gonna look back in case you're trying to pull anything fancy, but not really. This guy can also kill you, but chances of it are not very high. Now, these arrows are actually very good. Because normally to skip this elevator, you would do Fall Control Quit Out, but because both Fall Control and Hidden Body are body buffs, you can only have one of them activated at the same time. And because I have Hidden Body activated at that point, at least I don't have to cast Fall Control and do a Quit Out. I can just instead roll off like that. So here I'm gonna go ahead and do a pickup. I'm gonna pick up the Dark Beat spell. It's a very, very good thing. It's a very good spell. So you're gonna see later on. I don't know why I two-handed the bow, but hopefully it doesn't cost me. Alright, we're chilling. These guys are some of the more inconsistent ones. Like I said, with Hidden Body, it's usually fine, but some funky stuff can happen. You gotta be wary of it at all times. So Manus is like my favorite boss coming up. He has a lot of attacks. Obviously with that comes a lot of RNG, but a lot of the RNG you can kind of play around, and it's just a really cool boss. First I'm gonna do a small skip here. It's the Manus Foggate skip. I'm gonna be able to jump into the fight from out of bounds because of the way this arena works, because like you enter it from the top and then you fight all the way down here after the cutscene. That is not a good opener. I'm not gonna punish it. It's risky. That is interesting. There I'm talking about how many different attacks he has, and then he does the same thing 2 times in a row. Fortunately, I was able to get good magic, so once you get him past 60% health, he's gonna start casting spells as well. And I got the good RNG. Jump back. He did the shotgun Dark Beat spell, which you can strafe and then punish him with 2 more running attacks. Again, all of this is made a lot easier with Green Blossom. So it's a good thing that Chester sells them so conveniently. So now I'm gonna head to the tower where Golf is. I don't know how they got them there. Got him there, like, the only way that you can get there is this one little ladder. And as you're gonna see, Golf is quite a thick boy. One thing that I haven't mentioned is I went to the DLC PvP arena. I'll actually show where it is when I'm running towards Calamite. So I have to talk to him. I basically tell him, hey, I've seen Calamite. Can you shoot it down, lad? I'll buy you an ice cream or a milkshake or something. And he's happy with that. So he shoots him down. It's a very cool cutscene. We don't get to watch it in a speedrun, unfortunately, but now Calamite is shot down and he can fight us. So the PvP arena is right there. I entered it right there on the left. And the reason for that is I got the Purple Coward's Crystal. Now the Purple Coward's Crystal is an item that when you use it, when you're close to the arena, it's gonna teleport you to it. However, it's another online item, but there's a glitch called item swap. It's a frame perfect glitch that I'm gonna be able to, like, you see it's grayed out on the bottom, and I'm gonna be able to abuse that glitch to use that item anyway. And as the game is gonna try to teleport me to the PvP arena, I'm gonna warp to my last bonfire, and that's gonna confuse the game a lot. And it's gonna warp me to a place where I'm not supposed to be. It's gonna be coming out very shortly, that's why I'm talking about it already. But like I said, it's a frame perfect glitch, so it might take a while. First though, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm gonna switch to the DCR. This is the place where I want to take fall damage while the DCR is on, then swap it out. Gonna pop another Green Blossom. Calamite is a wanker. He has 2 different openers. Well, if you enter the fight correctly, he has 2 different openers. One of them is really good, one of them is not very good. This is the not very good one. Now, quite a bit of RNG is probably gonna ensue. That was a nice whiff. Okay, let's try to loop him. If I'm gonna be running around his leg correctly, he's just gonna keep on turning around while I attack him. He's a good boy like that. Okay, we managed to do it. Even with the initial whiff, managed to loop him. That was very nice. And a bone away. Oh, yeah, this time I actually started using the Dark Sign because I don't really need any other level up besides this 38 and 37 intelligence. I'm gonna equip the Dark Beam. Oh, wait, did I actually? Yeah, I did go to Parish. I was just a little bit confused because there's an extra bonfire there because I set at the Sanctuary. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually queue up using the Purple Coward's Crystal during the stand-up. And I'm gonna try to use it consumable on the first frame as I hit the ground. It might take a little bit of time. Okay, got it second try, nice. It's a frame perfect thing. Obviously the only variable, there's not only one variable of where you hit the ground, but there's also the variable of where you go, so it's gonna be a different time, pretty much. So what you wanna do is not only have the timing for the consumable press correct, but you also want to have a consistent setup of your direction and where you toggle, because the toggle is going to change the way you fall off the platform. So it's very important. It's pretty difficult. Second try is very nice. So this was Capra. Before I actually finished talking about the wrong warp, Capra died. So if you've never seen Darby, this is what it is. It's basically a spell that is from the DLC that we just picked up. And we're using it on like early game / non-DLC bosses. Also the most convoluted out of bounds setup. You walk and you quit out. You walk and you quit out. Fantastic name, by the way. I said you walk and you quit out. That time's the charm. Actually, simplest setups are the hardest. And you're out of bounds. Okay, that was a lot harder than it should have been, but basically what I'm doing there is there's area transition between 2 different areas, and if I quit out just on that transition, because of the way this game loads, I can just clip out of bounds because one of the areas loads a little bit later. This is a little bit of a tricky jump to get on the railing. The game stored my position there. I'm gonna quit out. And this jump is kind of tricky as well. I'm gonna get to the Gaping Dragon's arena this way. Restore roll again. I already explained that. But again, you're gonna witness the power. This Gaping Dragon, and yeah, that was Gaping Dragon for you. This time it was with RTSR as well, so even more damage. Obviously the downside to this spell is supposed to be that it's spreading, but like, a lot of these bosses are either really... Okay, I went to the wrong bonfire this time. A lot of these bosses are big enough that you can still hit most of the particles, most of the parts of the spell, so you deal insane damage. I do some menuing there to prepare for the next skip, and this one's like probably my favorite. So this is the Blighttown skip. There are several variations of it, or rather 2 I should say. But this one is fantastic. So normally you would have to go through Blighttown to get to Quelaag. But here I'm gonna be able to abuse the geometry of the upper level and get to Quailag a little bit differently. So first, I'm gonna get stuck in this corner. I'm gonna explain why I did what I did a little bit later on. Or rather, after I'm done. I have to get stuck in this corner. I'm gonna aim to another very precise spot. Taking this a little bit safer. I'm gonna do 3 dagger parries with a toggle. That's very specific amount of distance that I'm getting. This is another transition clip, just what we did on gaping. But this time, I'm gonna be able to spawn out of bounds out of the elevator like this, because my last stored position is on the top of the elevator. Then I'm gonna cast Fall Control and do air rolls. And now I'm gonna abuse this 1 pixel wide wall to run over the New Londo ruins and get to a place where I'm gonna be able to fall all the way to Quailag's domain by doing some more air rolls. 1, 2, 3, and we're there. It's a fantastic skip. It reminds me a lot of Zelda skips where you have to aim to certain directions to drop a bomb and stuff like that. I love it. And the reason I aim on the top, so the aim on the bottom is to get the transitional clip. And the aim on the top is to get a very specific point of my last stored position, virtually. So that's why I abuse the backstab, right? Because that doesn't change my direction at all. And I still need to like activate the elevator. And then I do a running attack with my fist to again get back on the elevator without changing my direction. And if you like skips, well, here's a trifecta for you. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna spawn on top now. That's fine. I quit out too early. Obviously, elevator is a moving platform, so it doesn't actually store your position. Oh, it worked. Never mind. But there's a little slope here. And because the elevator is part of the lower area, it is not part of Quailag's domain, it's part of Demon Ruins. It loads a little bit later. And because I'm standing on a little slope and a quit out animation or the stand-up animation will push me a little bit backwards, I can fall through and then I can plunge a boss that's conveniently standing right under it to survive the fall and murder him. This is such a good skip. So the only reason this works is because obviously the boss is in the perfect position. Thank you, Miyazaki. And also because this demon, just like Stray and Asylum Demon, they're pretty much recolors. Stray is a little bit different. And yeah, that's why you can plunge him, because you can plunge Asylum Demon. Okay, more wrong warp stuff. Okay, another second try. That's very good. So yeah, thank you Miyazaki for being so so caring and setting up so perfectly. So the way the wrong warp actually determines where it's gonna warp you is, like I said before, determined by your last bonfire position. Your last stored bonfire. However, what it does is it actually teleports you to the default position of that particular area. So this way I was able to go straight to Fire Sage by doing that skip. Then I took the bonfire, Demon Ruins bonfire. Well, it's a centipede bonfire, but it's in the Demon Ruins area. And then doing the wrong warp puts me back on top. And I can go ahead and kill Ceaseless Discharge, which is another boss. He's normally not optional, but this time we actually skipped past him. But obviously all bosses we have to go and kill it. On top of that, the Fire Sage elevator clip also makes it so that I skip past the Golden Fog Gate that is loaded. It's the second Golden Fog Gate skip of this run. And on top of that, if you're wondering why the poor lad didn't fight back after he got his head, I mean, first of all, cut him some slack. If you were hit by a fucking 10, 15 kilogram weighing sword that just fell from the sky right in your head, I don't think you would be able to fight back either. But there's a very good point that, hey, it's giant ass demon, he should be able to take that. Yeah, but I got some other tricks up my sleeve, and that's the AI triggers actually at the fog gate, and obviously we don't ever go near the fog gate, so we don't activate his AI. So coming up next is the Centipede Demon. This should be a 2-shot if I do it correctly. It's a little bit trickier, because like I said, the spread of the dark beat. that's pretty good damage. That should be fine. I lied, but that's okay. It's a 3-shot. Gonna roll over that lava, but because we killed... because we just killed this boss, he dropped this ring, and this ring will allow us to survive on the lava, which is kind of nice. Fortunately, you guys will have to protect your eyes on your own from this amazing texture. My sunglasses are not ready, so I'm suffering with you lads, don't worry. The only one that's safe is my teddy bear, who you can see on the bed, who I brought here, because obviously this is not on site. It's the era of social distancing, so he's ready with his face mask, 6 feet away, or 2 meters roughly. I'm gonna be running over this lava, going to Bed of Chaos, undoubtedly the worst boss of this entire game. There's a lot of bosses that are not very good, but this one really takes the crown for being absolutely terrible.
And speaking of social distancing, as you mentioned, and staying safe, this is ESA Together you are watching. We are here together to collect some money for ESA and its affiliates, so we can bring you more amazing speedrunning events during these hard times, during the COVID-19 outbreak. So every little bit helps. And just as I'm saying that, we have a $5 donation from Volley saying, Kata has love, Kata has life. Thank you very much. I can very much agree. Your run is amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the donation, Volley, as well. It's a great guy, met him IRL. So thank you for supporting ESA, my favorite marathon in Europe. Right, so this is Gwyndolin, okay? According to the Japanese manual for this game, this is Gwyndolin. There's a Quaylana as well, which is her sister. And Quaylag, who we killed, who is also her sister. I don't know, it's a complicated family matter, don't ask me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a strat called Talkie Bombs. It's a very well-known strat, but somehow I've notoriously become known for messing it up quite often. So this is why I actually bought the extra fire bombs, just to be safe. First, I'm gonna go ahead and pop the green blossom, so I have more stamina for rolling towards the worm. And there's 2 orbs that I have to kill, that I have to destroy to access the worm, which is how you kill the boss. But I can just aim these fire bombs, throw them precisely. They're gonna hit these orbs, allow me to get into this middle part. Hopefully no fire. Oh my god. Okay, we survived the firestorm. That was Montagiga. Sometimes you will get unlucky and get this firestorm, but this boss can also, on top of the fact that it's absolute rubbish, it can also glitch out and do 2 firestorm casts, and then there's like almost no escape. So I'm pretty happy that we managed to avoid that. We only got the singular one and we managed to get to the worm. So now I'm gonna be going back to New Londo because there's only 3 bosses left. Well, 4. Sorry, Pinwheel. Almost forgot you there. And what I need to do is I need to access the Phalanx Altar to get to the final boss, to Gwyn. However, the Phalanx Altar bonfire is not it's not warpable. Like, you cannot warp to it, right? There's certain bonfires in this game, like the one in Darkroot, that you cannot actually warp to. So what I need to... Ooh, that was very close to dying there. So what I need to do now is I'm gonna approach 4 kings. That way I'm gonna get Cat to appear, which is one of the giant serpents. There's 2 of them in this game. You can open the Phalanx Altar to get to the final area of the game, either through Framt or Kath. And basically I'm gonna be able to get the Phalanx Altar bonfire, but from that point on I'm not actually forced to sit at any other bonfire anymore. So I'm gonna keep it till the end of the run, basically, because there's only 1 more run to Nito, and that's it. So that's why I'm killing 4 kings now, and not later.
And speaking of, we are approaching the end, and you can still decide on the ending for this run. Either Link to Fire or become the Dark Lord, and the Dark Lord is currently leading by $30. So if you want to snipe it and still link the bonfires, do it now, because you don't have much time left.
That is correct. Well, hopefully. I could still mess up a lot, but like anything in this game can kill you. Right, 4 kings. These lads have two, yes, health bars. One is individual for the king. You can see it appear on him, and the other one is cumulative. However, now that his his health bar is depleted to 0, I can still attack him and deal damage to the cumulative bonfire, and the boss fight ends when the bonfire, I said it again, the cumulative health bar. And if the cumulative health bar reaches 0, that's when the fight ends. So I'm able to abuse this, get enough damage in on the first king, get ready for the second king to appear. He appears after a set period of time. I'm gonna do 1 dark beat, 2 dark beat, and the 3rd dark beat because he's dying. And that way I can only finish this fight in 2 kings. So technically you could say that you just got scammed off of 2 bosses, but that is your problem. So this is Kath. I'm gonna talk to him, say yes. He'll take me to Firelink Altar. I'm gonna get this bonfire. I'm gonna warp to Firelink, swap to the correct ring. Obviously, like I said, you have to have the Covenant of Artorias equipped, otherwise you die in that arena. And I kind of completely missed that I did a skip. It's just, these things are like so normal to me that I don't even feel like it's worth talking about them. But naturally, the skip that I did is just another full control quit out through the New London Ruins arena area. Sorry. Normally, you're supposed to drain the water and get to 4 kings differently. However, I can get out of bounds like that. Run next to the arena. Fortunately, there's a plane that has collision, and I can drop into the arena. Again, that's a boss fight, just like Manus, where you drop into the arena after you enter the fog gate. So that way, you actually don't take fall damage as long as you fall within the boundaries of the arena. So now we're heading towards the catacombs. Here's a necromancer. Very cool. We're gonna quit out. The reason is not just to cancel the lever animation, but the enemies that are chasing us, the skeletons, get reset. Here I'm gonna do a full control quit out. What's gonna be very important is that I'm gonna plunge. And the reason for it is if I hit something, there's like flying skulls, or if I hit the bone wheels on the bottom, I would bounce off. But because I'm gonna plunge, I'm just gonna fall through them. Oh, that was an interesting fall. Let's see where I end up. I think I'll be back on top. Hopefully not. Yeah, okay. Let's do this again. So I fell on the edge there of the higher platform, and it didn't store my position. Okay, that was better. Now the bone wheels can be actually quite annoying, because if they get stuck on you from behind, well, yeah, you just get hecked. There's nothing you can do about it, except take it like a man. Once they're done with you, you're pretty much not a man anymore. That's how it works. They deal a lot of damage, and like once they start attacking you, if they're going in the same direction as you are, they just don't stop. So this is Pinwheel. Pinwheel is cool, so we're gonna do a cool 360. He deserves it. I'm gonna cast Full Control here. Also, you can get on this ladder a little bit earlier by opening the menu. That's gonna allow me to get past a pop-up, because we just dropped the Rite of Kindling, which is used to like kindle bonfires, which will give you more Estus charges from them. And it gives you like a weird like fade-in screen where it tells you, hey, you can now kindle bonfires. But if you open up menu as that is happening, it doesn't happen. You can just enter the ladder, because there's no collision on that wall. Well, there's collision, but there's like, you can still reach the ladder basically. So this is a little skip, getting past the fog gate. Running through the Tomb of the Giants can be quite tricky, because obviously you cannot see anything. There are some items that will give you some light as a casual, but I've gone through this once or twice, so I know where to go. Do some parkour. As you've noticed, a lot of the late game is actually about parkour. Quite uncharacteristically, I would say. You wouldn't really expect Dark Souls to be a lot about parkour, but I would actually say that with the recent developments of the game, and I'm talking about like the past 2-3 years, really the past 2 years, the late game has become probably the hardest part of the run. Like, it's got the most technical stuff with wrong warps, and it's got pretty difficult skips that you can fail easily. Now, naturally, the bosses are not very difficult in late game. I can still die to them, like Nito here. Hopefully that doesn't happen. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna ring swap, so that way I can be on Artorias range. I'm gonna cast it in body, not for him. Then body doesn't work on bosses, but it's gonna work on his minions. He's not doing a scream attack, which is good. Gonna cast Falcon Darkbeat so that I hit both him and his minions. And now 2 more casts will kill him. Fantastic. And actually, as quite a surprise, I'm gonna do one last one warp, and that is into the kiln. And that is because it's slightly faster. So that would be the grow of the any percent route, where the goal is basically get to this place, get the purple coward's crystal, and wrong warp into kiln. And this is slightly faster than offering the souls and running down the stairs. A second Tri-City today. That's actually not bad. That is actually not bad. So now we're gonna warp to the kiln, and I think this is a good time to close down the donation for the ending and let me know who the winner is.
Alright, but first we still have a $5 donation from FaceGuy 5 for the God Gamer Kata. And that goes towards the Dark Lord ending. And let me refresh one last time and see. And we are going for the Dark Lord ending with $75 opposed to 40 for Link to Fire. So go on, become the Dark Lord.
I will. I'll also make sure to remember to not skip the cutscene, because that's what the ending is all about. So thank you guys for donating towards the goals. It's much appreciated. It's a typical bid war that I pretty much always have for DS1, but you guys still keep on donating for it, so I appreciate that a lot. So one thing I did here is I equipped my gloves, because the Pyromancer doesn't have enough health to actually survive the running attack from the Black Knight. So, but as long as I have the gloves equipped, I'm gonna barely survive and be able to fight this hardest boss in the world. That is Gwyn, of course. Very quick, many attacks. Doesn't let you heal. As soon as you press Estus to heal, he's gonna jump towards you and stuff. Now, naturally, I don't really heal, so that won't happen. Oh, yeah, well, you can also parry him, so. And then you can do some 360s and he's dead. One cool thing I'm gonna show, it's not time just yet, is that you can actually increase your new game plus counter. Gonna wait for them to disappear by walking into this Dark Lord ending and quitting out at the same time. So like you enter the cutscene and you quit out, and this increased my new game plus counter. So I could do this 6 more times, get the new game plus 7, and technically have the new game plus 7 completion world records. But I'm not gonna do that because that will waste your time. But that's just like a cool little thing. Okay, time is in 3, 2, 1, time. And we can witness how this guy with a stick on his butt will become the Dark Lord.
My lord, bless thy safe return. Let Karth and Framt serve.
Thank you very much, Kata, for this amazing run. It was a lot of fun to watch, and I hope you had fun. Thank you for having you here at ESA Together.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thank you for the great job doing your hosting. It was a pleasure. Thank you everyone for watching and donating.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed the run.
And I would like to remind you why we are here. We are collecting money for ESA and its affiliates so that we can still provide you with a lot of amazing speedruns in those trying times. And, well, you can support us in many ways. Either donate or subscribe. Your subscription currently gets doubled by our sponsor HyperX. And speaking of HyperX, they also have some fabulous prices. You can get a nice mousepad with RGB colors. I never heard of that before. Or a nice headset. Just go to prices.esamarathon.com and look them up. The donation amount, the minimum donation amount is oh god, no, I can't speak anymore. All your donations count together for those prices, so you can sprinkle them in during the marathon and still be in for those amazing prizes. We will now go over 2 intermissions, a short ad break, and a nice video, and return soon with Nico Hart and Alien Isolation.
Enjoy the rest of the marathon, lads.
Thank you.